What's up, guys? It's Kristen from Anime Collective. So it's been a while since I did a room tour, so I wanted to get one out for you guys. So since last time, I've actually downsized my collection a lot. But a lot of new stuff has come in as well, so let's get into it. But real quick, before we get into the video, I wanted to let you guys know that I've started a new Patreon. And if you enjoy videos like this one, be sure to like and subscribe. It's one of the best ways to help support the channel, and I'm really hoping to get to 100,000 subscribers. Anywho, there's a lot to go through, so let's get into it. So starting off in the living room, we have these two Ikea Besta units with shelves in different sizes to show off some of our favorite video games, consoles, media, and figures. I'll go through everything inside in a second, but first, each unit is outfitted with Govee lights. It took a little customization to get them right, but we're really happy with how they turned out. Let's start with the vertical unit over here. Up top, we've got a mix of Nintendo and 90s nostalgia. Brad and I both grew up in the 90s and early 2000s, so that era means a lot to us. You'll see Initial D front and center with the Kinokuniya exclusive cover of Volume 1, definitely one of our all-time favorites. Next to it is my modded Game Boy Advance SP. We shell swapped this one and went for kind of a wacky watermelon theme. Clear green shell, pink buttons and bumpers, and hollow stickers. It also has an IPS screen swap, which makes a massive difference compared to the original display. Colors pop, brightness is adjustable, and the backlight means I can actually play in low light. I even added a rechargeable battery pack so this SP feels modern while keeping that nostalgic charm. We got most of the parts from Funny Plane if you're thinking about doing your own mod. Next to it, we have Gert in his dog suit. Invader Zim is another big piece of our childhood. In the middle, there's our modded Game Boy Advance with a smoky clear shell and the same screen swap. We actually bought this one broken, it had no audio, but we brought it back to life. Another little Gur sits beside it, plus a Kirby plush and the Bleach 1000 Year Blood War Part 1 Limited Collector's Edition, which ties in with the pink tones on the shelf. On the middle shelf, we've got our 3DS, DS, and Switch collections. It might look small, but that's because we've got our 3DS modded, so every game we've ever owned is backed up on it. Some standouts include Shin Megami Tensei Devil Survivor Overclocked, SMT4 Apocalypse, and Radiant Historia. We've got our DS Lite and original 3DS displayed too. The DS Lite was a broken unit we restored and shell swapped into this purple-blue case. Then our Switch games. These are our physical favorites since we've gone mostly digital. We've got everything from Amori, IB, Castlevania Advance Collection, Dead Cells, and all of the Xenoblade games. Down below, we've got an original Kiwi Lime Green Game Boy Color. All of our handhelds are displayed on rose-colored gaming stands that keep everything upright and clean. This cube also has our Game Boy games, including one of my all-time favorites, Drill Dozer. That rumble feature is still awesome. We've got Golden Sun, Zelda Minish Cap, Boktai, which uses that solar sensor and it's a Kojima game, Pokemon Emerald, and my original Pokemon Blue from when I was a kid. It actually didn't work at first, which scared me, but after a quick clean, it booted up perfectly. I've also got a pair of 8BitDo SNES wireless controllers here. They feel great and pair perfectly with the Super Nintendo on the next shelf. Moving to the next cube, this one's my favorite. I call it my moody shelf because it's got everything from Amori, Evangelion, and Goodnight Poon Poon all together. We have our Spice Orange GameCube controller front and center. Also, all of our GameCube controllers have been modded with the 8BitDo kits, so they retain the rumble feature, and they are rechargeable and wireless, which makes everything so much easier, especially when friends and family come over to play. Behind it, I've got part of the Amori art book with the Amori Nendoroid displayed in front. It's one of my favorite games ever, beautiful with an emotional story, fun mechanics, and an awesome style. Right next to it is the game that inspired Amori and one of my all-time grails, Earthbound. I actually found this one while out shopping, and I think I've never moved faster to the register. It was so clean, and I've been hunting for it for years, so needless to say, I couldn't have been happier. On the bottom shelf, we have the shell-swapped GameCube in a Spice Orange style shell and another controller in purple. Our GameCube is modified with the GC loader, which unfortunately removes the disk drive, but we were tired of waiting for the flippy drive to release, and this one allows us to load all of our games directly from the console. Behind that are shell-swapped transparent black SNES. To the side is Goodnight Poon Poon by Inio Asano, one of my top manga, and a Radio Eva Shinji figure in front. The Radio Eva line is one of our favorites, and you'll see a Eva pilot figure in each cube as we go. Finally, the bottom cube is our PlayStation section, which is really special to both of us. We grew up with these consoles and still play them to this day. We've also got some of our favorite anime Blu-rays here, Evangelion of course, and Steins Gate. They look great displayed together. In front of Steins Gate Zero Part Two's limited edition set, we've got the Curated Nindroid. On the side, a few Wii games like The Last Story and Kirby's Dream Collection, which I'll move up with the Nintendo section later, and then all of our PS2 and PS3 games. We're rebuilding both of these collections, focusing on the ones we actually grew up with. Some of these are originals, Tokyo Extreme Racer and Drakengard, that my mom found for me at home. I was so happy to get these. We also picked up the full Xenosaga trilogy and even found 3 sealed for a great price. For PS3, I want to highlight Folklore and Alice Madness Returns. Both are underrated and really worth revisiting if you missed them. Moving to the next shelf, we've got all of our PS4 and 5 games. A few favorites here, Nier Automata, Borderlands. Brad and I have poured so many hours into co-op on these, and they're still some of our favorite memories together. Returnal and of course the Resident Evil series. To the side, I've got a setup dedicated to a game that made me feel like a kid again, Astrobot. I've got the Astrobot Nindroid and the Astrobot controller displayed on a rose-colored gaming stand. And rounding out this cube on the bottom shelf are 2 of our most treasured PS1 games, Parasite Eve and Silent Hill. We definitely plan to build out our PS1 collection more, but these 2 were the ones we wanted most starting out. They mean a lot to both of us and we love horror, so these were must-haves. To finish off this section, I've displayed the Sekiro Nindroid, a PS3 DualShock controller, and a Radio Eva figure of Kawaru. This fit is awesome and the figure looks incredible on display. Now into the middle Besta unit, which doubles as our TV and media console for now. This setup will change once we move into the new house, since we plan to split the TV and gaming rooms into separate spaces, but for now everything's combined right here. In the first cube, we've got some of our favorite manga, Mob Psycho 100 and Dandadan, along with the Radio Eva figure of Asuka. I love her pose and the amount of detail on this figure. Right beside her are all 3 Mob Psycho 100 Blu-rays, plus the Reagan and Mob Nindroids. The middle section is open, no doors, so we've got airflow for our consoles. The PS5 and our backward-compatible PS3 both stay hooked up and ready to play at all times. And then the third cube is our Gundam showcase. We've collected most of the Gundam Blu-rays. I think we're only missing a few at this point, but since the original North American sets have gotten so expensive, we started picking up Japanese box sets that include English subtitles. They're beautiful, high-quality releases and a great alternative if you're collecting Gundam now. We both love Gundam, so we really wanted to dedicate a cube that highlights the franchise. One of my favorites here is the Mobile Suit Gundam Seed Collector's Ultra Edition. Down below, we've got the Radio Eva figure of Mari in this cool pose, and next to her is the PG Unleashed RX-78-2 Gundam that Brad built. On top of the console, we've got our Sony Bravia 77-inch TV outfitted with Gobi TV lights and a Sonos soundbar. It's a simple setup, but it does everything we need, whether it's gaming, watching movies, or anime. Speaking of that, in addition to streaming new releases, we also run everything through our NAS. We rip our physical discs, whether they are Blu-rays or CDs, copy them over and store everything there, movies, anime, and music, all organized and accessible through Plex. It gives us one clean interface for everything and lets us stream anywhere in the house or even outside of it. We can play music from the car or watch something while traveling, which has been awesome. We've also built up quite the music library on Plex and a solid CD collection too. CDs are something I'm really nostalgic for, but honestly, the sound quality is the main reason. And yes, I still take them out to the car in an old school CD case and play them. On the topic of music, we also have 2 Hibi devices, basically modern MP3 players. One is the Hibi R4 EVA edition, which is absolutely beautiful. It has all these Evangelion details, the Unit 1 colorway, and even a themed interface, which is such a cool touch. I use it all the time from listening on the go when I'm shooting B-roll or just at my desk while working. I can do a more in-depth video on the NAS and Plex setup later if anyone's interested, since it does take a bit of setup to get right. To the side of the media console, we've also got a compact PC and a fractal case that we built ourselves. It's hooked up for Plex and doubles as a Steam machine when we want to play something together. For solo gaming though, we each have our own dedicated PC setups. I'll show you those later when we move into the office. One last area in the living room, I've got this set of smaller Billy bookcases with doors on the front. These are 2 I want to show you, starting with the middle one. This one holds all of our Aniplex and Japanese release Blu-ray box sets. We've got a lot of the Monogatari series, Durarara, which is the Japanese release with English subtitles, most of the Fate series, my favorites being Fate Zero, Unlimited Blade Works, and the Heaven's Feel movies, plus Madoka Magica, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, the Persona 3 movies, and Gurren Lagann. Here is also where I have my Nana Osaki figure from Nana. This series means a lot to me. It's actually the reason I finally picked up and started playing bass after wanting to for so long. I'm really hoping they release figures of Nobuo, Yasu, Rin, and Shin one day. On the other side, I've got some overflow manga. I'm trying to get all of the manga to fit on the shelves in the den, but it's easier said than done, so for now they've spilled over here too. We've actually cut down quite a bit from nearly 3,000 volumes to just over 1,500, but we still have some work to do. Inside these shelves, I've got Air Gear, still hunting for a few volumes but getting close, and Food Wars, which both bring me a lot of joy to read. They're just pure fun, and the art in both is top tier. Then there's Batum, which we've been collecting slowly as we find good deals. We recently found volume 14 for a great price, so we're getting there slowly but surely. I'm really hoping Yen Press does the deluxe edition someday. Speaking of incredible art, One Punch Man. Easily some of the best art I've seen in manga, and is one of Brad and I's most loved series. I've also picked up a handful of Japanese manga over time, mostly series that haven't been released in the US. Rikudo is a heartbreaking boxing series, Jagan by the creator of Blue Lock is one I'm still hoping gets an English release, and Cannibal, which now does have one, but hasn't been fully released yet, is here in its complete French edition while I wait for my Kickstarter box set. It's a teens horror story about cannibalism in a mountain village, and it's seriously underrated. I've also got some newer Japanese series I've been following that I'll feature in future videos. Phantom Busters and Kaijin Fugeki Kindled Spirits by Oh Great already have or are getting English releases. Phantom Busters was featured in my most anticipated of 2025 video, and Kaijin Fugeki will be one to watch in 2026. Then there are a few I'm still hoping get picked up, like Make the Exorcist Fall in Love, which you can read on Manga Plus. It's got a killer style and great storytelling. Chill Death, full of gore and fantastical horror from the creator of Gyakusatsu Happy End. And Summer's Gonna Tear Us Apart from the same creator who also did Magical Girl Apocalypse. And finally, one of my favorite horror series, Higurashi. You can see they're organized by arc, which can be a bit confusing at first, but this one's a must-read for any horror fan. Alright, that's it for the living room. Now moving on to the manga and statue collections in the den. So we've got a lot of manga to get through here, but not nearly as much as my previous collection tour. We've really narrowed it down to our absolute top series. We did part with some titles we'll probably rebuy later, but since we're moving soon, we wanted to pare things down a bit. After the last move, we learned our lesson, and we're also trying to be a little more mindful about what we own overall. So here's what made the cut. All of these are Billy bookcases in the color birch, by the way. The first set has 2 taller, narrower units and 2 full-size ones. We use the narrower shelves for the heavier hardcovers and deluxe editions, and the larger ones for standard-sized manga volumes are mostly paperbacks. Starting over here, we have the High School of the Dead full-color editions. By the way, if there's a hardcover you'd like a closer look at, I've probably done an in-depth video on it already, so be sure to check for that afterward. In the middle, I've got Blood Echoes. Bloodborne is one of my top games, so this book was a must-have. Toon and Fairweather make beautiful releases, so I always keep an eye on what they're putting out, but this one in particular is stunning. Both the art and the content inside are great. And over here, I've started building out a little Shintaro Kago corner with Brain Damage and Dementia 21. Kago's work is completely unique. If you're into surrealistic horror, definitely check these out. On the next shelf, we have the first volume of The Climber displayed in front. It's one of my top series of all time, a deeply psychological story that dives into obsession and turns Mori's drive to climb into something truly harrowing. It's about so much more than just the art of climbing. It's about his internal struggles, and the way the art captures that is incredible. Behind it, we have Summertime Renderings hardcovers and The Girl from the Other Side deluxe editions, which have these beautiful gold foil details. On the next shelf, there are a few things I want to highlight up front. Even in Arcadia by Sleep Token, and the Dorohedoro Mud and Sludge art book, which was released in Japan. This art book is absolutely packed with content and is easily my favorite art book ever made. You can really feel how much love Q Hayashida has for this series and its characters throughout every page. It's such a joy to flip through. Behind those, we have a timeless sci-fi classic, Parasite, which never gets old, along with the French release of Bibliomania, a dark, horrific retelling of Alice in Wonderland, and DRCL by the creator of The Climber, a reimagining of Dracula. On the next shelf, I have the French perfect editions of Eden It's an Endless World. I decided to collect and read these instead of the Dark Horse singles since they are much more cost-effective, and honestly, they're beautiful. The interconnected spines look incredible on display. In front of those, I've got 2 CDs. One of my favorites is the signed copy of Architects Lost Forever, Lost Together, which I got during my time as a concert photographer. Next to it is the deluxe Posthuman Next Gen CD from Bring Me the Horizons shop. It looks like a video game disc with an insert to match, and it's such an awesome design when you open it up. On the final two shelves, I have my Tsutomu Nihei Master Editions of Blom and Knights of Sidonia. As far as paperback releases go, these designs are some of my absolute favorites. Blom and Tsutomu Nihei are goated in my opinion. Blom is isolation and quiet brilliance at its finest. The architecture, the scale, the atmosphere, everything about his work is incredible. I just love it. Down below I've got some oversized hardcover light novels, the Is It Wrong to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon Collector's Edition, the Sword Art Online hardcovers from the box set, and my personal favorite, the Solo Leveling novel hardcover omnibus, which includes all 8 novels. The neon accents against the matte black covers are so striking, and they look great on display. Onto the larger Billy, which is mostly my sig-size manga shelf, and yeah, a whole lot of seinen. As you'll quickly realize, I love seinen and I mostly collect it. Starting with my favorite Naoki Urasawa manga, the 20th Century Boys Perfect Editions, Monster Perfect Editions, and Pluto. These 3 are some of the best manga you can read, not just from Urasawa, but in manga period. He does everything well, from sci-fi conspiracy mysteries to cat and mouse thrillers to emotional dystopian stories and beyond. Then we have Inio Asano's works. Aside from Goodnight Poom Poom, which we have out in the living room feature front and center since it's one of our favorites, we have Dead Dead Demons and Solenin here, both standouts in his work. Dead Dead Demons is a sci-fi coming-of-age story about a group of girls living under the shadow of an alien mothership. It's funny, heartfelt, and ultimately dark, diving into human nature in that distinct Inio Asano way. Solenin is more grounded, a beautifully told story about figuring out what you want in life. It's heartbreaking, melancholic, and yet somehow still warm. I actually have full guides on both Naoki Urasawa and Inio Asano's works if you want to hear more about why I love what they do, but yeah, these 2 are absolute staples in my collection. Keeping with the melancholy theme, I've got 2 of the toughest reads I've ever gotten through next. Chikobi's Original Sin, a short, gut-wrenching sci-fi drama that hits harder than most full-length series, and No Longer Human by Usamaru Furuya, a devastating modern retelling of Dazai's classic that captures the despair of wanting to belong but never truly being able to. It's one of the saddest and most powerful manga I've ever read. Next up, one of my go-to comfort series, Dorohei Doro. People always ask how I can find this series so warm, and it all comes down to the characters and the love they have for one another. You can tell Kyuha Hayashida adores this world and everyone in it. It's dark, violent, and grimy, sure, but the found family dynamics give it a heart that makes it one of my all-time favorites. And continuing with favorites, because honestly everything here is one, Tokyo Ghoul and its continuation Re. Sui Ishida created something unforgettable. The artwork, the style, the ghoul factions, the emotional moments, watching Kaneki's descent from humanity into the ghoul world, it all just hits perfectly. Please don't let the anime which derailed from the manga stop you from checking out the series. It's on another level entirely. I also have this Tokyo Ghoul CD set that was released in Japan. The cover has this holographic finish with artwork of Kaneki, and inside there's a beautiful digipack with all of the anime's music. I didn't love the adaptation, but the soundtrack, openings, and themes are absolutely perfect. And the inside art of Toka and Kaneki is just the perfect finishing touch. In front of Tokyo Ghoul, I have Pain Remains by Lorna Shore, one of my favorite bands, along with a Nendoroid of Heisei Sasaki. Next to that is Leviathan, a seriously underrated space horror about a group of kids stranded on a damaged vessel and only one cryopod left. What happens next is absolute chaos. And beside it, the Japanese volume 1 of The Guy She Was Interested In Wasn't a Guy at All. The greens in this series really pop, and I love the blend of romance and music that runs through it. The style too, I'd steal every single outfit. Next shelf we have Takehiko Inoue's Real, one of my favorite creators, so I have all of his series. Next to that, Alice in Borderland, one of my top death game series by Haruo Aso. Then one of my top mono of all time, The Horizon, a devastating story about 2 kids trying to survive in a post-apocalyptic situation. In Happiness, a vampire coming-of-age story by Shuzo Oshimi. Next shelf, we have another series by Oshimi, Inside Mari, and Homunculus, one of the best psychological stories I've ever read. The art is simple but beautiful, the story unfolds in such an effective way, and it's just incredible. Then there's Killing Stalking, another dark read that dives deep into the worst sides of humanity. It's a manhwa about a boy who stalks his crush, only to discover he's a serial killer and gets trapped in a toxic, horrifying relationship. It's often mistaken for a BL romance, but this one's pure horror, so go in with that mindset. The color palette is gorgeous too. And then there's Bastard, my top manhwa of all time, right alongside The Horizon. The main character's father seems like a saint, but in reality he's a killer. Watching that tension unfold makes it a must-read. On the final shelf of this Billy bookcase, I have the French editions of The Breaker. I chose these over the English release because I think the design is just better. The slipcovers have this embossed red metallic detail that looks amazing. Next to that is the French release of Rokudenashi Blues, since it hasn't been released in English yet. And finally, the Soul Eater Perfect Editions. Atsushi Okubo and Tite Kubo are two of my favorite shonen creators. Both have influenced so many modern series, and I just love their styles. Soul Eater also has that gothic flair I can't get enough of. Next to this Billy, I have another narrow Billy bookcase, starting with my #1 manga of all time, Berserk, by the one and only Kentaro Miura. If you've been on the channel for a while, you know how much this series means to me. It does everything right. Story, the art, it's a masterpiece through and through. The deluxe editions are gorgeous too. In front of the deluxes, I have a Nendoroid of Guts. Seeing him in this chibi form cracks me up every time in the best way. Then we've got more deluxe editions. Hellsing with those beautiful scarlet red spines, and Blade of the Immortal, one of the best samurai stories out there. It starts as a revenge tale but evolves into something much deeper. It's visceral, emotional, and beautifully drawn, with a modern tone despite its historical setting. Next to that is Trigun and its continuation Maximum, now complete. I just finished collecting these during that big sale, and it's easily one of my favorite cyberpunk westerns. Vash is one of my favorite characters of all time too. And on the final shelf, we've got Vagabond Definitive Edition Volume 1. I'm waiting to pick up the others on sale, but these hardcovers are stunning. I showed them off in my review. It's one of the best manga I've ever read. I wanted this edition to replace my Visbigs because it's just so nice. Next to it, we have the Vinland Saga Deluxe Editions. I'm so happy these are finally releasing. Yet another favorite of mine, it's a top-tier historical manga about Vikings, revenge, and redemption. The character development here is some of the best you'll find in any series. And finally, Ubelblatt Deluxe Edition 1. I can confirm my new copy has the corrected pages, no duplicates, so if you're holding out, hopefully you'll get one from the updated stock. These are some of my favorite design deluxes to date. Now for the final large Billy over here. At the top, I have my Gaunt singles. After years of collecting, I'm still missing a few, but I'm slowly hunting them down in the wild for good prices, and I'm nearly there. Gaunt's is easily in my top 5 of all time. It's violent, chaotic, and cinematic, everything I want in a manga. It's over the top in the best way, with wild gore, intense action, and a surprising amount of heart in the character moments. Don't believe me? Just wait until you meet Muscle Rider and Little Muscle Rider, they'll melt your heart. Volume 1 of Gaunt's E, which released in Japan. I really hope it gets an English release soon because it's my favorite Gaunt side story. Next to it, we have Frankenfran, one of the wildest and most absurd body horror series I've ever read. It's grotesque, creative, and somehow still funny. There's truly nothing else like it. On the next shelf, I have two of my favorite horror creators, one who directly influenced the other, Kazuo Umezu and Junji Ito. It felt fitting to have them side by side since the legendary Umezu inspired so much of Ito's work. For Ito, I kept only my favorites: Shiver, Smash, Tombs, Alley, Venus in the Blind Spot, Fragments of Horror, The Black Paradox, Tomi Gyo, and of course Uzumaki. These are the ones that really stand out to me. I have a full guide on all of his works if you want to hear my detailed thoughts on each series. Next to those, we have my favorite Umezu titles: The Drifting Classroom, My Name is Shingo, and Orochi. I love Umezu's cheeky humor and how he never took himself too seriously, even when the situations are grim. His works are classics through and through. My Name is Shingo especially stands out. The hardcovers are stunning with their metallic and glossy finishes. It's one of his best sci-fi stories. He does horror and sci-fi equally well. I'm still missing one volume of Orochi. Every time I order it, it arrives damaged, so I'll probably grab that one in person next time. The next shelf is a huge tonal shift from the ones above. This one's all about humor and whimsical fantasy. Starting with Watakoi, which has one of my favorite adult casts in manga. I love its otaku humor. It's such a relatable and genuinely funny series. But nothing makes me laugh quite like Grand Blue Dreaming. Aside from Gintama, it's the funniest manga I've ever read. And then I have Witch Hat Atelier, which I'll eventually be replacing with the newly announced Grimoire editions. This is easily one of the best modern fantasy series. It's enchanting, beautifully illustrated, and full of that sense of wonder that reminds me of why I love manga so much. Rounding out this shelf is Magus of the Library, one of the most magical series. It's a fantasy about a boy's love for books and the journey he takes to change his fate. This next shelf is full of my vertical series. They're all different size than most other publishers, but they release some of my absolute favorites. Starting with Blood on the Tracks, truly amazing from start to finish. Rarely do I see a manga stick the landing this well. It's a story of a boy and his mother's extremely toxic relationship, and watching how that unfolds is chilling to say the least. It's one of the best psychological series out there and my favorite of Oshimi's work. Then Bakemonogatari, illustrated by the incredible Oh Great. This is some of his best artwork, and since I love Bakemonogatari as a series, I had to pick these up. Rounding out this shelf, we've got Tower Dungeon, a new fantasy by Tsutomu Nihei, one of the best new releases lately, and A Girl on the Shore, one of Inio Asano's most striking works. It's probably his most graphic, but it's also a beautifully told coming-of-age story about two teens who grow together and then drift apart. Love is messy, especially when you're young, and this captures that perfectly. On the next shelf, I have some newer series I've started collecting, though I do need to move The Witch and the Beast over with the others since I've been collecting it for a while. Innocent is another I'm still working on. Shinichi Sakamoto is one of my favorite creators, and his story about an executioner in France is as beautifully drawn as it is told. I keep hesitating to complete it because I'm terrified a deluxe edition will drop one day, and I'd rather have that. Then there's Inio Asano's latest, Mujina Into the Deep, about a female assassin in a dystopian world. After that, some of my favorite new series, After God, Full Night, Gachi Okuda, which I now want the box set for, Destroy All Humans, I heard 90s and Magic the Gathering, and that was all I needed, and Superball Girls, the latest from the creators of Prison School and Blue Lock. Next, The Summer Hikaru Died, a series I've been gushing about for a while, countryside cosmic horror at its finest. Then The Color of the End, an emotional sci-fi about a girl navigating the remnants of humanity, and Toge Oni. Then The Witch and the Beast, a dark gothic fantasy with stunning art, rich world building, and one of the best vampire arcs I've ever read. I also have No Longer Human here for some reason. Behind No Longer Human, I've got Sora and the House of Monsters, which has some of the most beautiful architectural art I've seen in manga. And finally, Welcome to Demon School Rumacun, one of my favorite go-to happy series that never fails to make me feel good while reading it. That one also needs to be moved up with the other vertical releases, but I ran out of space on that shelf. And finally, on the last shelf, I have some of my favorite hardcovers ever released, Mobile Suit Gundam: The Origin. These editions have such a beautiful color palette, and as a huge Gundam fan, they're an absolute staple in the collection. Next to those are the Full Metal Alchemist Full Metal editions. I keep them on the bottom shelf since they're a bit heavier, but I love the metallic spines and those semi-opaque design details. Plus, it's full metal. I also have a few things displayed to the side and on top of these billies. First on the wall, there's an Akira print by Alexander Iacarino, which features all of these moments and characters from the film, and the colors are vibrant, surrounded by these Govee wall lights. I love these because I can rearrange them into different designs and configurations. They just stick to the wall and interconnect with each other. The lights continue up over the top of the billy to backlight all of the statues I have displayed up here. All of these are from Cloud Studios, one of my favorite statue makers. They produce some incredible pieces, and these are easily among my favorites. I'm a big Akatsuki collector, as you'll see. They're one of my favorite villain groups in manga. First up, we have Sasori and Datara. Sasori is shown with all of his puppets, while Datara's statue captures his explosive abilities perfectly, with clouds of smoke, clay, and bursts of energy all around him. I love the detail on his hand and the dynamic pose. Next are Kakuzu and Hidan, of course displayed side by side. These two are two of my absolute favorites. Kakuzu's statue is full of amazing detail, with gray tendrils twisting around, and the masks displayed throughout. For their size, these statues have so much packed into them. They're small in footprint but massive in presence. Hidan's is another standout with metallic blood splattered across the base and his signature smirk captured perfectly. And finally, off on his own, Tobi Rama, surrounded by his water dragons rising up behind him. The detail in this one is just stunning, from his armor to the water effects. It's probably my favorite of the bunch. Everything about it just looks spot on. More statues on the way when we get to the other side of the room. That's it for this set of shelves, but I've got one more small billy left in this room where I keep most of my Shonen Jump sized releases. Starting off on the top shelf, we have one of the GOATs, Slam Dunk. My favorite sports series, well, maybe tied with The Climber and Holy Land, but Slam Dunk nails everything about team dynamics, the highs and lows of the sport, the injuries, the wins, the losses. It's the example I always give of a perfect team sports manga, especially for basketball. Next to it are two modern favorites, Chainsaw Man and Frieren Beyond Journey's End. Frieren is one of the most emotional fantasy stories I've ever read. It's quiet, reflective, and full of heart. It wraps around onto the next shelf where it sits beside Helk, Noragami, and Muroko-chan, which has some truly chilling ghost designs, and Toilet Bound Hinaku-kun, which is peak style and aesthetic. Toilet Bound continues onto the next shelf, followed by Blood Lad, a cheeky, stylish vampire series, and some newer additions, Dark Gathering, Goku Rakugai, Kagurabachi, and the Bugle Call Song of War, my favorite new shonen release. It's got great battle systems, a strong fantasy setting, and absolutely gorgeous art. And finally here, Die Dark, the latest from Q Yoshida. On the final shelf of this Billy, I have my top music series ever, Beck. These are the French editions and I love them. Beck is funny, relatable, and just downright cool. It dives deep into its characters' lives and perfectly captures that raw love for music. I can't wait to grab the English release when Kodansha finally puts it out. Next to those are more French editions, Innocent, Innocent Rouge, and the first 3 volumes of King and Ashura. And that's it for all the manga. I don't think I missed anything, but man, that was a lot to get through. But we love all of these series for various reasons or another, and I really feel like we've curated this collection to fit both Brad and I's tastes perfectly. Now on to the statues. They're on the other side of the room in Moducases that I've outfitted with lights, bought directly through their site, and some goby lights along the back for extra glow. Starting with the larger upper Moducase, we have the Jime Palace Kakashi and Pain statues, both fully licensed pieces. Kakashi has his Susanoo behind him in full effect, captured mid-lunge in that classic Kakashi pose. It really looks like he's in emotion. You can almost feel the energy coming off of it. For Pain, it's planetary devastation in full effect. The sphere at the center lights up and he's frozen in that unforgettable pose from the manga. It's a moment I'll never forget, so I'm thrilled to finally have it represented in statue form. Below these two, we've got a pair of smaller Moducases, some of which are empty right now since we just bought a house or are in the middle of packing for the move. But we still have our Figurama Bleach Ichigo versus Ulquiorra statue out. These two battling it out looks incredible. Figurama absolutely nailed all the details from the skull-like textures to Ulquiorra's wings and the dynamic energy between the two. On the other side, there's another large Moducase with the Devil May Cry 5 Prime 1 Studio statues of Dante, V, and Nero. I've done videos showcasing each of these in more detail, but the craftsmanship here is next level, exactly what you'd expect from Prime 1. Each comes with a ton of weapon swap outs, and I actually store all of the extras ironically in a gun case right now, since it has removable foam inserts and it just works perfectly. Dante has his signature smirk, the jacket looks like real leather, and the weapons are insanely detailed. V's likeness is spot on too, but it's the addition of his familiars Griffin and Shadow that really make this statue special. In Nero, those devil breakers, the mechanical detailing in his pose, it's the most dynamic of the three. I love all of these statues, but my most cherished piece is another Prime 1 Studio statue, the 1/3 scale Guts. You might be wondering where he is right now. He's actually up on top of the case. Here are some better photos from my review. I was supposed to have a dedicated Moducase for him, which just came in after nearly a year's wait, only for them to just send us the wrong one, so we had to send it back, and I'll be reordering it once we're settled into the new house. When that happens, Guts will be front and center. He's my all-time favorite in the collection. And finally, down below, we have the KDC Vegeta statue. He's in a powerful stance, rightfully so, since he's performing the final flash. KDC makes some of my absolute favorite Dragon Ball statues. I also have their Goku and Frieza pieces, but those are packed up right now for the move. That's everything I still have out at the moment, but once we're settled into the new house, I'll be doing an updated tour with all of the statues on full display, so be sure to subscribe and stay tuned for that. Now we're moving on to the office, and this is where Brad and I keep more of our collectibles, all of our music gear, and our PC setups. We both work from home and love gaming, so we each have our own desk and setup, but we also play instruments. Brad plays guitar, bass, and is now learning keyboard, and I just play bass for now at least, but I want to learn more, and this is one of my favorite areas in the house. So when you first walk into the office, we have this shelf topped with some of our consoles. We've got the Steam Deck and the MetaQuest 3 VR headset sitting on its charger with the Bobo VR headband. It's way more comfortable that way. Here we also keep our Hibby R4 Evangelion edition that I mentioned earlier, so it's easy to grab. And front and center is one of my favorite figures, the Sideshow Collectibles Ghostface. Scream is one of my all-time favorite franchises, and when I saw this figure at my local toy store, I had to grab it. I've got him in this funny little pose, and honestly, I just love seeing him every day. Inside the cubes of the shelf, we have our NAS, which holds all of our physical media that we've backed up digitally, everything from CDs to anime to movies. On top of that, there's this really cool Game Boy Advance case we found one day. I love the pink piping details on it. Next to that, we have a battery backup and the Tears of the Kingdom Switch, which is beautifully detailed. And below those, we've got a little corner for some of our favorite video game guides and art books, from Dead Cells and Zelda to Final Fantasy, Amori, Dark Souls, and Elden Ring. Behind all that are more of those Gobi wall lights like the ones we have in the den, matching the colors of my PC setup. The lights carry along the wall, tying everything together. Above and to the side of the shelving unit, we have a print of the Crow featuring Eric Draven with his guitar, fittingly placed next to one of our own guitars hanging on the wall, the Charvel Shanlon signature in black gloss. The neon yellow detailing is what really caught our eye though. Brad's a huge While She Sleeps fan, and when he found this guitar used for a good deal, he had to grab it. Next to that, on a zither guitar stand I got Brad for Christmas one year, is his 7-string guitar. Next to the shelf, I've got a small office drawer where I keep all my essentials, pens, notebooks, peripherals, that kind of stuff. On top, there's a vase with faux cherry blossoms, my Mimikyu plush that Brad got me, and one of my favorite oddities I own, the Gremlins Gizmo Furby. Gremlins has been one of my favorite movies since forever, so I love this weird little guy. Brad, on the other hand, is absolutely terrified of him, or really any Furby for that matter. So Brad's a web developer, which means I tend to get a lot of his hand-me-downs, though honestly I'd never call them that because they're anything but. I'm using his old HP Omen monitor mounted on an arm, and my desk is from Autonomous. The rest though, especially the PC, was all me. This is my first full PC build and I'm so happy with how it turned out. I knew I wanted an all-white setup with some silver and color accents to balance it out, so that's exactly what I went for. It's all housed in a Lian Li 011 Dynamic Evo RGB case. For specs, I've got a Strix RTX 4090, a Strix Z790A gaming Wi-Fi 2 motherboard, 32GB of G-Skill Trident Z5 Neo RGB RAM, an Intel i7 processor, and Lian Li Uni fans, to name a few. I want it to be powerful enough for both gaming and editing. Brad's setup is more tuned for video work, and mine leans a bit more towards gaming, but I like having the flexibility for both. Honestly, I love this build. I probably stare at it way too much while working. It's a little distracting, but I couldn't be happier with how it turned out. It works perfectly for my setup during the day when I'm working, and just as well at night when I'm gaming. The lights behind my monitor, the Gobi lights, and the lighting inside the PC all come together to fill the room when the lights are off. It creates such a cool atmosphere, and I love it for late night gaming sessions, which happens a lot. On top of the PC, I also have an 8-bit controller and a Nintendo Gintoki from Gintama. As for the keyboard, I have a White Fox mechanical keyboard with the Noel keycaps from GMK, and a Snow White Aerox 3 wireless gaming mouse, and my chair is the Ergonomic Chair Pro in the color Mineral with a headrest. And that's from the company Branch. To the side of my desk on the wall, I have a pegboard from Ikea with my Moonstone Blue Bose Quiet Comfort headphones. These are what I use to listen to music all day while I'm working. I've added a few shelves to the pegboard also from Ikea to display some of my favorite things. On the first shelf, I've got the Needy Streamer Overload Nendoroid, the Needy Streamer Switch game, and my favorite Pokemon card, Shining Mew. It was a birthday gift from Brad, and it's honestly one of my favorite things I own. The way it catches the light is beautiful, and Mew has always been one of my favorite Pokemon. On the next shelf, I have a Kirby plush and a Pokemon 151 booster bundle box. I love the art on it with Mew, and it's one of my favorite sets. And on the top shelf, I have Sleep Tokens Take Me Back to Eden, and a plush of Emil from Nier, one of my favorite characters in all of gaming. Other than that, I've added a few small holders on the pegboard to keep various things, guitar picks, Game Boy bumpers, and extra buttons for any future mods. Moving on to the middle of the room, we have some more music gear, and now we're at my basses, which Brad has also started picking up and playing. The first bass we bought was this one, the Squier Precision Bass. I put power slinky strings on it and swapped out the pickups for Seymour Duncan quarter-pound P-bass pickups. Down below, I've got my little orange amp, small but powerful, always hooked up and ready to play. To the side, I have my first pedal, my preamp, the Darkglass B7K V2. I play mostly metal, so this was a must-have for me. I've got more pedals I want to add soon, but for now, this setup's been great. Lately, though, I've been playing a lot more on my 5-string, which I'll show you next. My 5-string bass is the Ibanez Bass Workshop EHB 1005MS in Seafoam Green Matte. I practiced and practiced until I finally looked at Brad one day and said, I need a 5-string bass. I wanted to earn this one, to feel like I was good enough before getting one, and I absolutely love this bass. It's sleek, it plays beautifully, and even though I was surprised I ended up going headless, something about it just felt right. Behind it, we have Brad's keyboard, the Arturia Mini Freak, which he's been learning on a lot lately. On the other side, we had the Line 6 Helix and Brad's pedal board that he's been building out. Sofrey has the Kili Octasight, a Boss noise suppressor, and a Fortin 33, Meshuggah's guitarist's signature pedal. Now onto Brad's setup, which I absolutely love. Brad and I have kind of dual setups. Mine's light, his is dark, and I've always liked that contrast because it really shows off both of our styles. Brad's desk is an uplift desk, and on top he has an Alienware 34-inch curved QD OLED gaming monitor mounted on an Ergotron arm. To the side, he's got a JBL Studio monitor with a headphone stand on top, holding his Sony noise-canceling headphones. For his keyboard, he's using the Mode Sonnet with GMK Terra below keycaps and Aqua Xylent V2 switches, and his mouse is the Logitech G502X. His setup is built for video editing, but also for work and gaming, Since he spends most of his day at the desk, he uses a steel case gesture chair. It's super comfortable and perfect for long sessions. Now for that PC build. Brad went full blackout mode. His case is the Fantex NV7. For specs, he's running a Gigabyte Aorus Master RTX 4090, an Asus Maximus Dark Hero motherboard, 128 gigabytes of Corsair Vengeance RAM, an Intel i9 processor, and Leon Lee Uni Infinity fans, just to name a few. One of the coolest features is his CPU cooler, the Asus Ryujin 360, which has this little display on it. Right now he's got Mob at 100%, which is awesome. The fans are all synced to that same color palette, blues and purples, and it looks amazing. I don't know, who has the better build? You'll have to let me know. Two totally different aesthetics, but we both love our PCs, and that's what matters most. Brad and I love coming in here and gaming at our desks. The room is functional for work, but it's also a space where we can unwind, play music, game, and just have fun. That's what this whole setup is for us. Our collection is everywhere, and we love every second of it. But that's it for the collection tour, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. As I mentioned, we'll be moving into our first house soon, so I'll definitely have to do an updated tour once we're all set up. Thanks so much for watching and hanging out. This space means a lot to us, and I can't wait to show you how it evolves in the new place. Be sure to subscribe for more, and thanks as always for your support. I also added a new Patreon, which I've linked below, and if you're wondering about any of the products I use, check the descriptions for all the links. Full disclosure, some are affiliate links, which helps support the channel and no extra cost to you. See you guys next time.